For tip number 1, we're going to talk about how do you keep track of all those chats that people send you that you'd like to remember, but you need a better way of finding them, right? I know some of us have used the Teams Save Bookmark feature, but this will give you full control of how you categorize the things you want to save. So let's start by thinking of the scenario. All of us get a lot of chats. If we're using Microsoft Teams, we are going to get a chat that we just say, oh my goodness, I'm going to forget this. I know I am. Let me just bookmark that or something. And I believe there is a feature in Teams that enables you to save a message or to bookmark a message. But you end up with this long list of bookmarks. So instead, I'm going to show you how you can leverage OneNote to help you categorize the things you want to remember. And so I have set up a OneNote called Knowledge Transfer, and I'm going to add a page to this section called Teams Info. So basically, every time there is a chat that comes through that I want to save, I want to automate the push into this section of my OneNote, and each one will have the date that I pushed it and a hashtag and a tag. So I can start tagging things such as hashtag SharePoint, hashtag Power Platform, hashtag incidents, hashtag performance and reliability. So I can start to hashtag, which will make it very easy for me to find things related to those key topics. So when you think about what hashtags you will use the hashtags that work with the things that you do. And then these hashtags will be your search tools in OneNote to find them later, okay? So let's start by looking at how we can automate this. And so I've already made a flow for this. But what you need to do first is navigate to Teams, right? And here I'm in the browser at teams.microsoft.com, but you can also do this in the client. I'm in the browser because I'm in a dummy profile, okay? So from this browser, I have added the app called Workflows. You may have in the past remembered something like Power Automate or whatever else it was called, but what I'd like you to use today is Workflows. And that app will give you access to the things you need for this automation. Okay, let's do it from scratch because I don't think I have an import button here. So we won't save the time. We'll just go ahead and do it from scratch. So basically, I'm going to say new flow. And what we're going to create is actually in Teams world thought of as a messaging extension. Now, there used to be a template for this, but I think it's been replaced because there's so many more that are more important than this one. So we're going to create it, as I said, from scratch. So we're going to create from blank. And the first thing we're going to do is give it a name right after we start this. And the reason why the name is really important is because when we call upon this in Teams, we're going to use the name that we first saved this as. Sorry. And I'm going to call it send to OneNote. Very simple. Okay? Send to OneNote. Okay? And then what is my trigger? Well, it's going to be Teams. So I'm going to look for Teams here. And then you're going to see that there is a for selected message. Okay? This is what's going to make it a really cool, what I call messaging extension. All right, now I'm going to create the adaptive card and I'm going to edit this. Okay? And I'm just going to change this to, let's not forget, this chat. And then here, include any tags that will help you search in notes. And then here, instead of your name, I'm going to change this to tag. Okay. And then I'm going to change this field from last to first name to my tag. Okay, so notice that I am changing the ID because we're going to need to use this later. Okay, so my tag is what I'm changing this to, and as a placeholder I'm just going to put a hashtag, replace with tag. Okay, this is just to remind them, what is this field for? Or else to remind me, really, because I'm doing this for myself. And then I'm going to X everything else. Don't need anything else here. So a very simple, I'm creating a dialogue here, actually, that I will use as I send these notes to OneNote. All right? And basically, I want to remind myself to add a hashtag. Okay? That's the whole dialogue. I don't really need anything else. And so I'm going to save card, and that's the end of that. Now, my next step is to create a page in OneNote. So I'm going to need the OneNote connector for business. And I'm going to create page in a section. Okay, because I've already decided my OneNote is set up. I know which OneNote and I know which section. So you got to think about that before you start building this automation. And then let's go ahead and give that some time to create. I must be missing a OneNote connection. Oh, there we go. It came through. Okay. So it created the connection for me because I didn't have one yet in this tenant. All right. So now we're going to select our notebook, which is knowledge transfer, and we're going to select our section, which is, oh, did I not give it a name? I wanted Teams info, but let's go ahead and use research. I wonder if I type, I'm going to use research. Could be that it's too new for it to remember it here, and that's fine, because it doesn't really matter which section I use. And so I'm going to use research, and then let's just show you how much data you get from that trigger, right? You get a whole bunch of stuff. You get the message ID, the sender, you get the message itself, the subject, the link to the message. You get all of this. Let's just see what it looks like if we pick the actual message, right? So notice you have two ways to get the message. The full message is message content, or you can say, just give me the plain text. The thing about plain text is it won't give you the URLs, you know, the links. All right, so I'm going to choose message content, and that's basically what I'm putting into my message. Now, I want this to include a title on the page. You know how in OneNote you have a title up here, and that doesn't seem to be coming up as an option here in OneNote. So I found a trick for that, and that is to use HTML. So delete what I put in there before, and just, this is important because we're going to be using HTML code. Click this code view icon first. This will eliminate the rich text formatting and give you a HTML formatting block. Delete that and use the block that I provide in the description of this video. Just paste that there. Okay, so you will have to replace these tags though. So when you use this HTML, it may give you the wrong tags here. So if they don't look like they match what you have in your flow, then you would X them out and replace them. So let me explain how I created this HTML. So this is just HTML body formatting, but the title field here actually becomes the title in Teams. So up here, you see this, I mean, not in Teams, in OneNote. This area here is a title. It's a page title. So the only way I could figure out how to really get that to be consistent is to use a title property in HTML. And I combine that with two things. Format date time, which is formatted as mm-dd-yyyy, so month, day, year. And then I have that my tag. Remember up here, we created an ID for the tag that I would type. So we're going to do my tag. All right. And then the body of the message starts by saying the message is from. You can say whatever you want, but I thought it'd be helpful to say the message, who is it from? And that's the dynamic content from the trigger that says who the sender's display name is, right? And then at the end of that sentence, all these BRs are just line endings. Then I have message details, and in that line I have the message content. Again, you have the option to use plain text, but plain text removes all your links, all right? And I will give you a little bit of a heads up. Images don't work well with this solution. I usually get placeholders for images in my OneNote, so I'll see if I can help you figure out how to get images to work. But I would suggest you use this mostly for text-based or links, things within the thing that don't include images, right? And then I add another line that says notes to include my tag. That way the my tag is in the body of the message as well as in the title of the message. And then last thing I do is add a line with a link to the message. Just in case from OneNote I'd like to go back and look around that message that I'm saving. Okay? So that's how I prepare how this is going to go push to OneNote. All right? And now after that, you can give yourself a message that says it's been sent to OneNote. I've done that myself, but it's an optional thing. You know, if you just want something to say, yay, it's done, right? You can do something like this. You could say, use Teams and post to your activity feed. So you can go to Teams and you can say, post a message in a chat or channel. Let it be the flow bot, because this will make sure it's you're only dealing with you talking to you, right? Post in flow bot as chat with a flow bot. And then I'm going to make myself be the recipient, and myself is Patty up here. Even though I'm Audrey, today I'm Patty. So you can decide who gets this message as well. If you want more people to get this message, you could put several recipients there. But you can this is just a confirmation. Confirmed that your chat message has been included in your OneNote. And then if you want to have the link to the OneNote in Teams, you can just add that link. And I usually will use the OneNote web URL as my link, but you have 3 different URLs you can play around with and figure out which one you like the best. If I remember correctly, this may not format as a URL. Let's add them both and see what they look like, because I don't remember. And then I will save that. All right, so that's my whole flow, which is called send to OneNote. It's now saved. Now, because it's saved, right, I can go back and now I will find this in my message extensions. Now, the reason why you find this in your message extensions is because you used that trigger. So if you use any other trigger, this will not work as a messaging extension. All right. So now I'm going to go to Teams and I'm going to go to the general tab of this particular channel. But because you saved it in your workflows, you can use it in every channel. There's no limit to where you can use this in Teams. And now I'm going to hit these 3 dots, and you'll notice it should show up right away, send to OneNote. If you don't see it, try more actions, because it might mean that in your world, your company has already released a bunch of messaging extensions, which are priority over this one that we just made. So, but it'll either be here right away after you hit the 3 dots, or you'll have to do more actions. But you'll see the name that you gave it, right? I named it send to OneNote. So here you are. You just made your own messaging extension in Teams, right? Now, when I click this, it's going to show me the dialogue that I made, right? And it's going to ask me for the tag. So I'm going to do hashtag learn. So, or maybe I call this learn links, whatever it is. So I might take a few minutes before I decide what my tags are and just kind of make myself a list of helpful tags that I can use to find stuff later. I know personally I need tags for AI, for Copilot Studio. I need tags for SharePoint. I need tags for authentication. I need tags for Azure. So I might have a list of 10 tags that I always use, and then I would keep repeating those. Now, this means that you can set tag up to be a drop-down list if you prefer. That way you don't have to remember, but that means you have to plan in advance what your tags are going to be. I'm not the best at planning tags. I really like them to be somewhat flexible, but I will show you how you could make this a list. And then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, and now it's literally going to push that to OneNote, and there's my confirmation message. Remember that we put there optional, which is coming to Teams and just confirming it went. All right. Another way to confirm is to go to OneNote, go to that section. Let's see. Hopefully we have it here. Sometimes this can take a minute. Like even as you notice, my clicks are taking a minute. Why don't we just refresh? Again, I'm in the browser purely because this is not my real profile, and so I don't want to use the client. So see, you have a new page here called Learn Links, and here's the message from Mia. Here's the tag, and here's the link to the actual Teams message. Now, please note that the reason I get all those links is because I've carefully formatted that in my workflow as not being plain text. All right, so just to go over a couple of things, and that's basically it. I want to go back to the workflow tab. So we're going to go back to workflow, and I usually pin it. Okay, there it is. It is pinned. So if you pin it, so just make sure you pin that app so you can always find it fast. I'm going to just go over a couple of things, and then we're done for today's tip. All right, so if I go edit here, just remember I named this first. Think about your name and do that first, because the first name for the flow is going to be the name that's going to show up in Teams. And if you change it, it's not like it won't change, but it will take a little bit of time to provision that change. And so I say name it first, all right? Then you create your adaptive card, all right? And you can edit the one that's there, or if you're good at adaptive cards, just create it. Now remember I said you could make your tag a drop down? Remember that you can drag these things on here. That's a drop down list, so that you could actually set up your tags in advance in a drop down and use that instead. All right. Remember, if you use drop downs, what is getting passed to OneNote is what's on the right side. So this is the display and this is the value. So they can be different, but in this case, I suggest you keep them the same, and then you won't get confused. But you could create, I don't want to do that in this case because my brain doesn't think ahead far enough for this, and I'd rather it be kind of free flowing because it's a personal productivity tool. It's not for my entire team. Okay, so now that works out really well, but remember to do that, and in that, remember any fields that you add. So let me just go back in there one more time, because I'm telling you the most important things to remember, because you can see how easy this is, but all you have to do is forget one of these things and you'll be in trouble. Any field where they are typing, so where you are typing, or the person is going to be typing and this solution is run, or this messaging extension is run, make sure it has an ID. If it doesn't have an ID, and it should be unique, right? Because you might have other things you want to fill in here. Fill in as much as you want, right? That's how you get to use this information in your flow. If it doesn't have an ID, you won't be able to use it later, okay? So that's like the most important thing. And then don't forget one last thing, okay? This is really the last thing. When you actually do the second action, because these two are required, this one's optional, but when you do this second action, remember to hit that code view first before you paste the text that I put in the description. And whatever you name your tag, use that. So you may have to X out mine and put your own, okay? but you'll have to revise this. But it will not work properly if you didn't first hit that code view icon in the ribbon. All right, that's everything. This could be very helpful. I'll have you know that if you could imagine you have 100 links maybe over the course of a year, it's very easy to do a search for hashtag performance, a search for hashtag whatever. And when you search, now it's going to get a list of pages all about performance, or a list of pages all about learn links. Really cool for helping you find things you want to remember. And if your world is anywhere like my world, I've got things all over, channels and conversations that I've got to keep track of. And this helps me be structured. So I hope you enjoyed this very first Friday tips video. Every Friday, I'll send you another tip. Sometime it'll be about productivity. Sometime it'll be about AI. Sometime it'll be about Copilot Studio. But it'll be a tip. All right? You have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.